Welcome, viewers, to a critical examination of a narrative that has recently gripped various corners of the internet and echoed in some less credible news circles. We're here to talk about the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire, or Ivory Coast, and the disturbing claims that have surfaced, alleging a military coup d'état and widespread social unrest. In our increasingly interconnected world, where information travels at the speed of light, the line between fact and fabrication can become dangerously blurred. It is in this environment that rumors can take root, spread like wildfire, and cause unnecessary alarm and anxiety, not just among those who call Ivory Coast home, but across the African continent and beyond. Our purpose today is not merely to dismiss these claims, but to provide a comprehensive, evidence-based look at what's truly unfolding on the ground in Ivory Coast. We aim to meticulously debunk these misleading reports, offering a more accurate, nuanced, and truthful picture of a nation that, despite its own historical challenges, continues to stride forward with determination and an unwavering commitment to progress. Join us as we navigate the complexities of contemporary Ivory Coast, cutting through the noise to reveal the reality. Let's begin by dissecting the very rumors that prompted this investigation. For the past several days, specifically around mid-May 2025, social media platforms, most notably X, previously known as Twitter and Facebook, became fertile ground for a flurry of alarmist posts. These posts alleged a dire situation. Heavy gunfire reportedly echoing through the streets of Abidjan, the vibrant economic capital, significant and unauthorized military movements across the city, widespread and sudden internet disruptions, effectively cutting off communication, and perhaps most dramatically, unsubstantiated claims regarding the purported death or flight of key national figures, including President Alassane Ouattara and the Army Chief of Staff, General Lassina Doumbia. Some of the more sensational accounts even cited high, unconfirmed death tolls, painting a grim picture of a nation on the brink of civil war, a horrifying echo of its past. These claims were frequently accompanied by decontextualized videos and images, old footage repurposed, or unrelated events falsely attributed to a current crisis. The cumulative effect of these posts was to construct a narrative of profound chaos, instability, and an imminent national collapse. One particular video, widely shared, supposedly showed a burning building, presented as definitive proof of intense fighting and widespread destruction resulting from the alleged coup attempt. This concerted effort to propagate fear and uncertainty was, at its core, a classic example of how quickly unverified and malicious information can proliferate in the digital age. It's a sobering reminder of the responsibility we all share in discerning truth from fiction. Such rumors, when amplified, have the potential to inflict real-world damage, sparking panic, deterring investment, and undermining hard-won stability. But let's be unequivocally clear from the outset. These reports are not merely exaggerations. They are, in their entirety, unequivocally false. They represent a prime and frankly dangerous example of how easily a manufactured crisis can take hold, especially in a region where genuine political instability in other countries has, regrettably, made populations more susceptible to such alarmist narratives. The immediate aftermath of these online claims saw a rapid and decisive response from both Ivorian authorities and credible journalistic entities. On Wednesday, May 21, 2025, and consistently in the days that followed, a chorus of voices from multiple reputable sources swiftly and unequivocally debunked these sensational and damaging claims. Leading the charge were local Ivorian journalists, those on the ground with direct access and first-hand knowledge, working in conjunction with established international news agencies. Outlets such as Business Day NG, Fact Check Hub, Botos.org, and various others, including major wire services like Reuters and Agence France-Presse, AFP, meticulously investigated the allegations. Their findings were unanimous. The claims were baseless, lacking any factual foundation whatsoever. The most compelling and irrefutable evidence against these wild rumors came directly from the highest office of the Ivorian government itself. On that very Wednesday, May 21, 2025, President Alassane Ouattara was not only alive and well, but was publicly and visibly seen presiding over a pivotal Council of Ministers meeting. This crucial assembly took place at the presidential palace in Abidjan, the very city where the alleged gunfire and chaos were supposedly unfolding. The Ivorian presidency, acting with transparency, promptly released official statements, high-resolution photographs, and even short video clips confirming his active participation. These visual proofs directly demonstrated the government's continued functionality, its unwavering stability, and the complete normalcy of official operations. Adding further weight to these official denials were the direct reports from journalists on the ground. Seasoned professionals like Crystal Kwame, a respected figure within the National Union of Journalists of Côte d'Ivoire, took to public platforms to explicitly state, with authority and conviction, there is no coup in Côte d'Ivoire. The country is stable. Her message was clear, concise, and reflective of the lived reality in Abidjan, contrasting sharply with the manufactured panic online. Furthermore, one of the key pillars of the coup narrative, the claim of widespread internet disruptions and a media blackout, was also thoroughly disproven. Journalists, active residents, and even ordinary citizens confirmed that internet access across the country remained fully functional, robust, and uninterrupted throughout the period of the rumors. This allowed them to communicate freely, access information, and crucially, report accurately from within the country, directly contradicting the narrative of a deliberate attempt to silence communication channels. If a coup were truly underway, a primary objective would typically be to control or cut off information flow, a tactic conspicuously absent here. And what about that evidence video? The one depicting a burning building, circulated as proof of intense fighting and devastation. This was perhaps the most flagrant example of deceptive recontextualization. Investigations by fact-checkers quickly identified the footage not as a result of a current coup, but as imagery from a real, though entirely unrelated, fire incident. This fire occurred at the Ajame Chateau shopping center in Abidjan, not in May 2025, but on February 5, 2025, months earlier. The intentional repurposing of old, legitimate footage to create a false narrative of current chaos is a cynical tactic designed to mislead and manipulate public perception, and it was decisively exposed in this instance. To truly understand why such rumors about Ivory Coast could gain even a modicum of traction, it's important to grasp the broader regional context. West Africa has, regrettably, witnessed a disconcerting string of successful military takeovers in recent years. Countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger have each experienced disruptions to their democratic processes, leading to a climate of heightened anxiety and widespread speculation across the entire subregion. This unfortunate trend has, understandably, made people in neighboring states more susceptible to reports of instability, sometimes leading to a tendency to assume the worst based on past patterns elsewhere. However, it is absolutely crucial and indeed imperative not to conflate the genuinely challenging situations in these other nations with the distinct reality in Ivory Coast. While the regional context is undoubtedly significant and informs much of the concern, it does not automatically translate into a universal truth that every rumor of unrest in every country within the bloc is valid. Ivory Coast has its own unique trajectory, its own internal dynamics, and its own hard-won lessons from its past. Its current stability is a testament to deliberate efforts and a prevailing national will to move beyond periods of conflict. In fact, Ivory Coast has enjoyed a period of remarkable political stability and robust economic growth since emerging from a devastating civil war in 2011. This nation, once scarred by internal conflict, has made monumental strides in national reconciliation, peace-building, and comprehensive economic reforms. This is not to say challenges don't exist, but the overarching narrative has been one of consistent, determined progress. Consider the economic indicators. Averaging an impressive 8.2% annual growth between 2012 and 2019, even navigating the global disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent geopolitical shocks, the Ivorian economy has maintained a robust average growth rate of around 6.5% from 2021 through 2023. This resilience is truly remarkable. Projections for 2025 remain highly optimistic, with the International Monetary Fund and World Bank anticipating a strong 7% growth rate, cementing Ivory Coast's position as a leading economic powerhouse in the West African region. This economic dynamism is not merely a domestic observation. It has been recognized and affirmed by the international financial community. Reputable international credit rating agencies, such as Moody's and Fitch, have both acknowledged this consistently positive outlook, undertaking positive upgrades and affirming the country's sovereign ratings. This external validation underscores the confidence of global financial markets in Ivory Coast's stability and its future economic trajectory. Such sustained economic performance, fueled by a thriving private sector and strategic industrialization efforts, serves as a powerful testament to the country's inherent stability and its strong governance framework. Digging deeper into Ivory Coast's economic success, we see a strategic vision that actively fosters growth and resilience. The Ivorian government has consciously embraced a catalytic role, moving beyond direct control to facilitate and stimulate a dynamic private sector. This approach has proven highly effective, with statistics revealing that over 80% of the thriving companies currently operating within Ivory Coast are privately owned. This is a clear indicator of a market-oriented economy that empowers entrepreneurs and encourages innovation. A cornerstone of this economic strategy is the emphasis on local processing, particularly within the country's crucial agricultural sectors. Ivory Coast is the world's largest producer of cocoa, but traditionally much of this raw material was exported for processing elsewhere. The government's renewed focus on increasing local cocoa processing capacity adds immense value within the country, creating more sophisticated supply chains and higher-paying jobs. The same strategic focus is being applied to other key agricultural products, such as cashews and mangoes. By transforming raw materials into finished or semi-finished goods domestically, Ivory Coast is actively reducing its reliance on volatile global commodity prices and creating more stable, diversified revenue streams. This strategic approach, combined with consistent and impressive economic growth, has resulted in a resilient and forward-looking nation. It's an economy that is not only expanding but also diversifying, building strength from within. Major infrastructure projects continue to roll out, enhancing connectivity, supporting industrial development, and improving the quality of life for citizens. These long-term investments are a clear sign of a government confident in its future and committed to sustainable development. A country investing so heavily in its future infrastructure and industrial capacity is fundamentally rooted in stability, not teetering on the edge of collapse. While claims of a coup are definitively, unequivocally false, it's equally important for us to acknowledge that Ivory Coast's political landscape, like any vibrant democracy, isn't entirely devoid of its own unique tensions and debates. This is particularly true as the nation steadily approaches the pivotal October 2025 presidential election. It is precisely in this period of heightened political campaigning and maneuvering that misinterpretations and deliberate distortions can gain traction. The primary political discussion currently dominating headlines and public discourse revolves around the candidacy of Tidjane Thiam, the formidable and charismatic leader of the main opposition Democratic Party of Ivory Coast, known by its French acronym PDCI. Thiam, a figure of significant international stature with a background in global finance, has recently faced legal challenges regarding his dual French-Ivorian citizenship. This complex legal situation led to his temporary removal from the electoral list in April 2025, a decision that naturally stirred considerable debate and concern within his political camp and among his supporters. This situation has, as expected, sparked intense political and legal debate, with Thiam's supporters and legal team actively pursuing avenues for redress and compromise that would ultimately allow him to participate in the upcoming election. While his temporary exclusion has indeed stirred some localized protests and expressions of discontent, it is vital to emphasize that these have been demonstrably limited in both scope and intensity. They have not, in any verifiable sense, escalated into widespread civil unrest, national violence, or the kind of systemic disruption that would threaten the stability of the state or signify an impending national crisis. The ongoing discussions surrounding Thiam's eligibility highlight the inherent nature of political processes and legal battles within a functioning, if sometimes imperfect, democracy. These disagreements are, crucially, playing out primarily within the established legal and political arenas, through courts, parliamentary debate, and peaceful public discourse, rather than leading to a breakdown of order or a descent into mass violence. This adherence to legal and political processes, even in the face of significant disagreement, is itself a testament to the country's institutional framework and its commitment to a democratic path, however bumpy it may sometimes appear. Beyond the specific electoral dynamics and the discussions surrounding candidate eligibility, it is also important to acknowledge that, like any vibrant and developing nation, Ivory Coast experiences instances of public protest. These are legitimate expressions of grievance or demand by various segments of society, and they are a normal feature of civil life in democratic nations worldwide. For example, trade unions have, on occasion, organized actions to demand greater respect for labor rights, improved working conditions, or better remuneration for their members. These are standard industrial actions, not signs of governmental collapse. In September 2024, for instance, there were reports of a band march in Abidjan protesting the rising cost of living and the sensitive issue of forced evictions in certain informal settlements. While such events can sometimes lead to localized confrontations and, unfortunately, some arrests, these are distinct from a national security crisis. International human rights organizations, such as Amnesty International, have indeed raised concerns regarding restrictions on freedom of expression and peaceful assembly in Ivory Coast, as well as the impact of forced evictions affecting thousands of families in Abidjan. These are important human rights issues that warrant attention and dialogue. However, it is absolutely crucial, for the sake of clarity and accurate understanding, to differentiate these legitimate, often localized protests and the valid human rights concerns they represent from the entirely fabricated narrative of a widespread military coup or a national violent uprising. To conflate these distinct types of events, a specific demonstration on a particular issue with a military overthrow of the government, is a profound misrepresentation of the reality on the ground. Protests, even when they involve some level of contention, are a normal and often necessary part of civil society engagement in many countries. They are a sign of a society where citizens are attempting to make their voices heard on specific issues, and they absolutely do not, in themselves, signify a national security crisis or an ongoing military takeover. Any attempt to present them as such is an act of deliberate disinformation. As Ivory Coast steadily gears up for its October 2025 presidential elections, it is entirely natural for the political climate to remain dynamic, lively, and at times, even a little tense. A certain degree of political effervescence is inherent in the run-up to any significant democratic contest, especially one that will determine the future leadership of the nation. Candidates will campaign vigorously, debates will be sharp, and public opinion will be highly engaged. However, the prevailing sentiment among the vast majority of Ivorians, as well as among seasoned political observers and international partners, is a profound and resolute desire to avoid any return to the confrontation, division, and tragic instability that marked certain periods of the country's past. The collective memory of the 2010 to 2011 post-election crisis, in particular, has left an indelible mark, instilling a deep and widespread aversion to large-scale conflict. There is a strong national consensus that such a painful chapter must never be revisited. This historical experience acts as a powerful deterrent, fostering a collective determination to prioritize peace and stability. Importantly, there is a general trend among leading Ivorian politicians, across the political spectrum, to move away from the incendiary, confrontational rhetoric that characterized previous periods of unrest. While political competition is robust, there is an observable effort to keep discourse within acceptable bounds, focusing on policy and legitimate debate rather than personal attacks or divisive language. This shift is crucial for maintaining a healthy democratic process and ensuring that disagreements, however profound, do not spill over into unmanageable societal conflict. Ivory Coast's continued economic stability and its increasingly prominent role as a key regional economic hub are also immensely powerful deterrents to widespread destabilization. The nation's prosperity is deeply intertwined with its peace. A sudden coup or a prolonged period of widespread uprising would inflict catastrophic damage on the economic gains made over the past decade, jeopardizing crucial international investments, crippling trade, and undermining the livelihoods of millions. The country's strong credit ratings, the influx of foreign direct investment, and its growing integration into regional and global markets all signify a fundamental commitment to stability. For example, the recent significant investment by Africa Global Logistics, pouring €60 million into inland logistics infrastructure. This is not just a commercial transaction. It's a vote of confidence from a major international player in Ivory Coast's long-term stability and its strategic position as a gateway to the wider West African region. Such investments are contingent upon peace and predictability. They further solidify Ivory Coast's commitment to progress, regional connectivity, and its aspiration to become a true economic anchor for the continent. The very premise of a coup or widespread uprising is fundamentally at odds with the national trajectory and the collective will of the Ivorian people and its leadership. There is simply little appetite, either among the general populace, who deeply value the peace and development they now experience, or within the political and military establishment, for a scenario that would reverse years of painstaking progress. The military leadership has consistently demonstrated its commitment to its constitutional role, and the current administration has repeatedly affirmed its dedication to democratic principles and peaceful transitions of power. This confluence of factors, a resilient economy, a mature political class, and a populace desirous of peace, creates a robust shield against the kind of manufactured chaos we have been discussing. This entire episode serves as a powerful and stark reminder of the profound dangers posed by the proliferation of misinformation in our digital age. The speed and reach of social media platforms, while offering incredible benefits, also come with an immense responsibility. Unverified claims, particularly those designed to sow discord and fear, can have tangible and damaging real-world consequences, affecting economic confidence, international relations, and most importantly, the peace of mind of millions of ordinary citizens. It is, therefore, absolutely vital for all of us, as consumers and potential disseminators of information, to exercise extreme caution and rigorous critical thinking. We must cultivate a deep skepticism towards sensational claims, especially those that lack verifiable sources or appear on platforms known for their lax fact-checking. Before you share, before you react, before you allow a narrative to shape your understanding, ask yourself, where did this information come from? Is it corroborated by multiple, independent, and credible sources? Is there an agenda at play? Relying solely on official government statements is important, but a truly comprehensive understanding requires consulting a diverse range of reputable news organizations, independent journalists on the ground, and verified fact-checking initiatives. Support responsible journalism by seeking out and engaging with outlets that prioritize accuracy and integrity over sensationalism. Be wary of accounts that thrive on fear-mongering or consistently present information without clear attribution or evidence. In closing, the narrative of a coup d'état and widespread turmoil in Ivory Coast is not merely exaggerated. It is, as our investigation has shown, demonstrably false. While political discussions and legitimate, localized protests are a natural and necessary part of any evolving democracy, they are emphatically not indicators of a nation on the brink of collapse or under military siege. Ivory Coast remains a stable, economically growing nation, a testament to the resilience of its people and the ongoing commitment of its leadership to a peaceful, prosperous, and democratic future. The true story of Ivory Coast in mid-2025 is not one of chaos and crisis, but one of ongoing development, political maturation, and economic dynamism. It is a story of a nation actively engaged in building a better future, navigating its challenges through established institutions and a collective desire for peace. Let us not allow unsubstantiated rumors to overshadow the genuine progress and the vibrant reality of this remarkable West African nation. Thank you for joining us in this crucial effort to shed light on what's truly happening in Ivory Coast. Your role in combating misinformation is invaluable. Stay informed, stay critical, and always seek the truth.